Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ha, Rakah Kwadash, Mama. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and the elders. Double honors to my elder as well, Aharawan Ben Yasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp here in Jacksonville, Florida. And salutations to the fellow Akim, Atwafium, and children Bunyam that believe in truth and sincerity. It's your brother Atanyala. Back to you another lesson. And Yahara Tazah is edifying. You can read the title. It says Trump says he threatened to bomb Moscow if Putin invaded Ukraine, in new audio. All right. And the audio is not that new. All right. It says President Donald Trump said he threatened to bomb Moscow if Russian President Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, according to new audio from a Trump fundraising dinner ahead of his election in 2024. He appeared to be referencing a conversation he purportedly had with the Russian leader during the first term. With Putin, I said, if you go into Ukraine, I'm going to bomb the out of Moscow. Trump can be heard saying on recording. All right, so this is just them enticing, again, the wars and rumors of wars. Okay, we understand that what this is somewhat of a stage pertaining to the prophecy. All right. It's all designed ultimately to usher in the New World Order, the MOTB, the Mark of the Beast, Revelations 13, verse 15 on down, which is the RFID hit that they want to put in every man, woman, and child. All right. And the Lord is going to prevent them and stop them from doing so. All right, because this is captivity for the Lord's children, the nation of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, and those of the speckled bird who may even look like the other nations, but bear the same spirit as such. All right, by way of your father's father, father. All right, going back. All right.
We're not happy with Putin. I'm not happy with Putin. I can tell you that much right now, because he's killing a lot of people. And a lot of them are his soldiers and their soldiers, mostly. And it's now up to 7,000 a week. And I'm not happy with Putin. We get a lot of bull thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. It's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Hey, and that's just like America. You know, they come with their demonocracy. All right. Their deception, a smile, right? It was like a gang sign. They smile, but they got evil and war in their heart. The la'av. The heart is your la'av, your mind. All right. One of the first scriptures I want to get, all right, because it's ultimately the Lord returning back our captivity. All right. Our captivity, our being you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians. All right. And this is our way out. A lot of death, destruction, right? Judgments being put forth, you know, as well as divine intervention, protection, a covering for those who are in the Lord's good gracious, man. This is Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 39. Just get a quick point, all right? Because you talk to these Christians and these people with so-called denominations or swear they love the Lord or love God. They don't know God, all right? Because the Lord is putting forth these judgments, all right? These wars and rumors of wars are coming up, all right? Because it's all a part of prophecy, all right? Destruction has to come to this place, America, Babylon the Great, mystery Babylon, ultimately for us to get out of this captivity, all right? It's Deuteronomy 32 and 39. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand, right? So it's nothing man could do. So that's why we have to get ourselves right spiritually, all right? And that's why we preach and pipe unto our people what? That they have to get themselves right spiritually, all right? They have to repent All right, they have to come into the good graces of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, learn of their responsibility and their duty of being the nation of Israel, man, the children of the Most High God, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, but just going back to the article and just talking on Putin, Putin is being prepared by Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, pertaining to Ezekiel chapter 38. All right, all this is the works of the Lord, man. This is his stage, ultimately, right? This is Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 1. And this will be a quick read to the point in verse 10. All right. But this is the prophecy that is coming to play. All right. And was already pretty much being formed with the BRICS Alliance and the BRICS nations. And that's why you have America barking at the nations over there in the Middle East, right? Still thinking they have a stronghold over the planet Earth. All right, but the Lord has taken that away. This is Ezekiel 38 and verse 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog. Right. So we set our face against them, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against them. Right. So we prophesying against them. We letting them know what the Lord is getting ready to do pertaining to prophecy amongst all these nations, man. And the oligarchs and the players and the players that be, all right, that sit in rulership seats, the kingsmen's, right, quote unquote. This verse 3, and say, Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, right? So he's against them, all right? And we understand Gog and Magog represents Russia, all right? Istanbul, you know, that region over there. So the Lord is ultimately against them, but he's with them to a certain extent, ultimately to fulfill his will, right? Verse 4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, man, right? Prepare for war, prepare for battle, right? Bringing back that old Soviet Union, right? Verse 5, Persia, right? Iran, which that's what Persia means ultimately in their language. Ethiopia, Hamitic, and Libya with them, all of them with shields and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah and the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. And I believe those are as well Hamitic nations, so-called African nations. All right, as Africans, the nation of Ham are not the Negroes, right? According to the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, just according to the spirit of truth. All right, we are not those people. We ended up in the west coasts of Africa fleeing Roman persecution in 70 AD. All right, and later riled up and spread it. All right, dispersed throughout the four corners of the earth, man. All right, and even some of our people stayed on the west coasts of Africa, right? The Nigerias and the Ghanas and you know these the Igbo tribes and these um, groups of people. All right, so we've been spread it all throughout the four corners of the earth. You can't tell who is who according to color, even though color is a distinction. According to Jeremiah 12 and 9, the Lord's heritage is a speckled bird. All right, so we got to try the spirit by the spirit, and the way you try the spirit by the spirit is with this truth. All right, the understanding. All right, the curses that the Israelites ultimately were going to go through. Okay, but just getting back to the point on how what the Lord is breaking these seals, breaking this yoke, all right, this bondage from off of us, all right. But 2/3 of our people don't even see it, all right. They caught up in the rat race. They caught up in everything that's getting pushed out on social media, which is straight up folly, right? The celebrity gossip, the whole nine, man. To where you can lose focus real quick, you know, even with the truth. So without it, you're a deer in headlights, right? You bound for destruction. Okay. But the Lord is preparing these nations ultimately to bring them down to the battle, man. The valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh Shaphat, where he's going to plead and judge these nations. All right. And he's ultimately judging his nation first. And that's why we go through the curses. That's why there's judgment all over. All right. You just had a flood in Texas to where it was like a tsunami like, and people went up missing. They found a little girl, but it's nothing but judgment going on. All right. So this back in Ezekiel chapter 38, and I start at the top verse 7. It says, "Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself," right? Thou, and this is, speaking on the Russia, all right, as we just read in the article about how they're trying to entice the conflict on Trump and Putin. All right, put them in that hot seat, get down to the nitty gritty, because it's time for the chickens to come to roost. This place got to be done with, got to be done away with. All right, it's too much small talk, right? With these Edomites and these heathens. The Lord getting ready to lay down. But it's back in Ezekiel 38. All right, it says, "Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee," right? These BRICS nations. You have Brazil, uh, Russia, Iran, uh, China, Syria, right? Saudi Arabia. All right, so that's where China and the Taiwan conflict comes in, right? Um, North Korea being China's pit bull, that's where they come in. They're players in it. Um, the disdain of America, the demonocracy that America put on them, separating, just like they separated Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom, the tribes. All right, you Spanish tribes, you Latinos, and you Southern tribe Jakes. All right, the Caribbean island, Haitian descent, and you so-called Negroes, the tribe of Judah. All right, separating North Korea from South Korea. All right, um, Ukraine from Russia. All right, that's their people, that's their back door. They're the same people. All right, but they have the demonocracy that's been pushed forth from Esau. All right, the beast and the beast-like system. All right, that Esau ultimately established and put forth. Their it's back in Ezekiel 38 and 8. "After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste. But it is brought forth out of the nations that they shall dwell safely, all of them." Come on. Verse 9, "Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be," and that's the spirit, "thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands and many people with thee. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh by Shem Shai, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought," man, right? "And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages." That's why America ultimately was speaking on trying to build an iron dome like Israel have. And you see what happened with Israel in the Iran conflict. All right, Iran pierced the Iron Dome with their response back to Israel. Right. "I will go to them that are at rest," this verse 11, "that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates," man, right? And that's why what Trump wanted to build that wall, not just for migration, but just for sleeper cells, because that's ultimately what's already in America, in Babylon, during the previous administration. And that's why Trump always speaking on what he would have done in that little window that he missed between his first being 45 and 47. Just going back into the article, it says he said, "No way," and I said, "Way." And then he goes, I don't believe you, but the truth is he believed me 10%. He's speaking on when he spoke with Putin, right, leader of Russia, um, in regards to if he had, when he was in office at that time, if he was to win in Ukraine, he was gonna bomb him. All right. So he said 10%. He said Trump then said he made the same threat to Chinese President Xi Jinping that he would bomb Beijing if China would invade Taiwan. I said, I have no choice. I've got to bomb them. And he didn't believe me either, except 10%. And 10% is all you need, he continued. Right, and that 10% go lead to Ezekiel 38 and 10 on the Lord putting that evil thought in Putin's mind, all right, and doing something to you, to the land of unwalled villages. But this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 47, and I'll start at verse 1. And it says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. But thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Right now, the Chaldeans, all right, they deal in sorcery and witchcraft, ultimately to, you know, create the build to gain filthy lucre. All right, and that's all they about, the filthy lucre, wickedness, sorcery. All right, but it says here, come down and sit in the dust, right, in confusion, and that's the state that this place is in. All right. Oh, virgin daughter of Babylon, right? This the only immaculate conception, so to speak. America coming out of Great Britain, the horn, right? You know, not being born, so to speak, of no sex. You know, unlike Joseph and Mary, they had sex. All right. The immaculate conception doctrine is a false doctrine. It's a lie, right? But as America, you know, this the immaculate deception, right? With Revelation 16:13, right? The unclean spirits coming in the mouth like frogs. You know, the Treaty of Rome, right? America being revamped. That second Roman Empire. All right. So this place is not no longer gonna be called tender and delicate. It's not gonna be able to keep up the facade that it established itself upon. This verse 2. Take the millstones and grind mill, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers, right? You know, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yeah, thy shame shall be seen, right? Being exposed. I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. You're not gonna be able to put Yahweh Shah on the cross again and crucify him. He go be in the spirit of those missiles, those ICBM missiles. He coming back in the spirit of those ICBM missiles, man, and with the holy angels. Verse 4, as for our Redeemer, the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai of hosts meaning armies, is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, right? The daughter of the Chaldeans, man. Mystery Babylon, America, right? Babylon the Great, the Golden City. But thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms, right? That's why it's referred to as a whore that sitteth upon many waters, right? um Esau, he's what, a troublesome meddler, always in everybody's business. All right, that's why Trump, aka Nero, he's the perfect Caesar, Pharaoh, to be in place. You know, full of pride, straight up businessman like Esau, but a straight cave dweller. Even a caveman can do it, right? They put on suits and feel like Superman, and that's the straight up mo of the guy. All right, and because of that pride is what the cities are troubled, man. And that's just that's just Esau for you. Right? He don't care. He don't care about his own people. All right. Again, the enterprise that they're trying to perform, the Lord ultimately has to stop them. Because if not, there would no flesh be saved, man. Roughly paraphrasing. This, this is Job chapter 5 and verse. I start at verse 10. Who giveth rain upon the earth and sendeth waters upon the fields, to set up on high those that be low, that those which mourn may be exalted to safety, right? And that's why we cry aloud and we spare not, man, and lift up our voice as a trumpet and show our people their transgressions, whether they hear or forbear. We teach and preach to the wind. All right, Romans 3:3. For what if some did not believe is not going to affect our faith, our duty, our loyalty to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, because we want to be exalted to safety, not lured to judgment like 2/3 of our people are being stuck on stupid, right? Just spiritually docile, dehydrated. It's Job 5:12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own counsel, in their own craftiness, right? So they're not going to be able to perform their enterprise, man. That new world order is ultimately going to come to a halt. All right, it's ultimately a test to see who's of the children of men and who's the son of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, the sons of God. Verse 12, he disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the fraud is carried headlong, man, right? Headlong to destruction, right? And that's ultimately what they're going to get. But this is going back into Ezekiel. We did Ezekiel. We was in Isaiah 47. And I started verse 4. This is Isaiah 47:4. As for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts is his name, right? The Lord of hosts meaning armies, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, right? For thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms, right? The whore of kingdoms, man. Getting passed through, all right? Taking all resources from everywhere it goes, right? Laying diseases everywhere it goes, right? They got to get put down like a dog on rabies, right? This Isaiah 47:6. I was wroth with my people, right? And that's the point. I have polluted my inheritance and given them into thine hand, right? But that was for a particular time, a season, for our judgments for transgressing the Lord. All right, and what 2/3 of our people ultimately don't want to return back and repent, so they're going to be left out there with no safety. All right, but for those who are remorseful, who have the understanding, who's hoping for these bonds to be loose, all right, this is our way out. We almost there. We just got to keep it up. All right. So it says, what? I was wroth with my people. I have polluted my inheritance and given them into thine hand. You know what he did? Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou verily heavily laid thy yoke, right? From old to young. They didn't spare, right? And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, right? This has been built on blood, grape, robbery, and unaliving of the Lord's people. Whoever has the mass amount of the Lord's people rules the earth. And the Lord is allowing Esau to rule the earth, not an Israelite. So we're in captivity. We're not under we're not under the governing body of Yahweh Shai, King David, the 144,000. We're under Esau's government. All right, that's Daniel 4:12. The Lord choose who he wants to be in that seat. He choose whoever so he will. It's Daniel chapter 4 and verse 12. Salakia. 17, Daniel 4 and verse 17, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know, right? That if you living, that you should know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set up over it the basis of men, right? And that's why you really don't see women world leaders in Babylon, the great mystery Babylon, America. They almost made that mistake, right? That'll really be the end. Which that's still I guess that's still an option, right? But this Daniel 4, that's the point. You know, he set up over it the basis of men. All right. That's why Esau ruling, man. Job 9 and 24, the earth is given to the hand of the wicked. All right. But that's the point I wanted to get in Isaiah 47, I believe. Just what? Just come down and sit in the dust. There is no throne. All right. And ultimately, everything that they dished out ultimately go come to them, man. It's gonna come to them precisely, quickly, and without measure. This Revelations chapter 18. Let's just get a quick point. In verse 7, how much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her, right? For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow, right? That lines up with Psalms 49 and 11, that the inward thought is that their houses go continue forever. All right, but the Lord is telling you that you're in that mindset because he put you in that mindset. You think you're gonna sit on the throne forever, but he's gonna snatch that magic carpet right from up under your feet. Verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, the missiles. For strong is the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, who judgeth her. This is Revelations chapter 14. And I get to the point, this is verse 8. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, the great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, right? And they're done with it. And the Lord's done with you. You ran your course, all right? And it's time for righteousness upon the earth, man. This place is long overdue, tiresome. There's nothing here. There's an endless cycle, man. Working the job, to pay bills. This is an endless cycle. This is Isaiah 14 and 1. For the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Right? And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord. Right. So the house of Israel, when they get back into their get back into their rulership, right? Because this is after destruction of America. This is unfulfilled prophecy, right? As history repeats itself, right? As this is what during the times of Isaiah, but it's going to come back around again to where what the Lord is yet going to choose Jacob, man. He go choose Israel, you know, as it's evident that the Lord springeth out of the tribe of Judah, right? He have not dealt so with any nation, roughly paraphrasing. All right. So what when Israel get into their kingdom and their rulership, they're gonna have possessions. They're gonna have possessions of people. They're gonna have slaves, as every kingdom needs slaves, right? But that's gonna be an everlasting blessing, as we were promised. All right, from our forefathers, Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. as that's where the blessing was gonna pass through. All right, and Isaac shall the seed be called. All right, not Ishmael. All right, the bondwoman's son, Hagar, son. Right, but from Abraham to Isaac and to Jacob. Right, Isaiah 14:2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Right, that lines up with Revelation 13, verse 9 and 10. Those who leadeth in captivity shall go into captivity. Those who killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Right, here's the faith and the patience of the saints, right, unaliving. So that's the faith and the patience that we have, because we know the Lord ain't a liar, and it too shall come to pass, just like the rest of the prophecies. As prophecies coming to pass as we speak, as we witness it, as we read Ezekiel 38, as we see what's being talked about in the news, right? The climate, spiritual weather. Verse 3, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, right? Break this bondage, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased, man, right? All right. So this devil, he's almost out of here. We see the Lord is cornering them, you know. The elites think they cornering America and they done away with America, but the Lord is cornering them as a whole, ultimately. All right. Man can only do what the Lord allows him to. Proverbs 20 and 24 states what man's goings is of the Lord. How can a man understand his own way? All right. So that's all I got on that. Shalom, Habatah, DTA, until next.